Welcome to Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. My name is Megan, and my amazing co-host is...
Hi, it's Amanda.
This is a part two of the previous episode. So we have been doing some analysis of online learning platforms, and we did some pretty in-depth analysis of 6 platforms. And so going into the last episode, we weren't sure if we'd be able to squeeze it into one episode, and we weren't. So here we are. This is part 2. So if the edit into the content is a little choppier than normal, it's because originally it was going to be 1 and now it's 2. And between us, we are the editors, producers, writers, etc. We are the whole show, right? So there's no mega editing budget. So forgive us if the segue into our first discussion point for today is a little choppy. We're going to wrap up here and be like, boom, here you go, content. So if you haven't listened to the last one, you can listen to them in either order, truly, but maybe go back and listen to that one first. It'll probably just make a little bit more sense. And then hop back over and listen to this one. And we'll be talking about all sorts of online platforms.
So let's talk Khan Academy. So I'm going to start off by saying I have been pro Khan Academy for a while, and Megan was not sure about it. And then I think maybe her tune has changed a little, having done this assessment and having the kids weigh in on it as well. And it was really good for me. So Winston did it years ago when he first got sent home from his private school. He was at a Montessori kindergarten, and when COVID happened and they shut down the schools, his Montessori teacher, like, bless her heart, she had no idea how to do virtual distance learning, anything. And so they had recommended, like, maybe use some Khan Academy, and we did use some of it then. And I liked it fine. I mean, he enjoyed it. I thought it was, quick and easy. And I knew that there were a ton of other things on there, right? They cover all kinds of things and some pretty advanced topics, and it's free. So I have been pro Khan Academy for quite a while.
I'll say too, when I went to go do the test with Liam, I had an account. So at some point we've done Khan Academy. It was, again, probably like 8 years old, but yeah. I was like, oh, look at that. I've been here before. Deja vu.
All right. So I will say we had like the kids account when he first did it, and we didn't sign up for a kids account this time. And that's my bad. I should have more proactively gone in and set it up as the parent account first and set everything up. I did not do that, and I would not recommend doing it my way. I just told Winston to go log on and see if he could figure it out, take some classes, try it out. And it meant that we were never able to sync our accounts. So he set up an account with his new email address that he's using on the regular. And I got an email. It went to my junk folder, but I found it. It was like an approval connect, and I did it, and I clicked on it. I was on my phone, so I didn't even think about the fact that like auto-populated information and set it up. And then I was in a different account, and we just kept getting error messages, and then I couldn't, I don't know, it was a mess. And so I never actually got connected to his account to be able to see if there was reporting or how he was doing or anything like that. So there's my tip for you. Don't do it like I did it. Actually take 5 or 10 minutes and go in and set it up from the parent perspective and make sure that you've got it all set up. So then beyond that, I thought it seemed like it was pretty quick and easy to test out of lessons. This one also doesn't have an actual assessment that puts you in different sections or areas. And the units that does kind of say, okay, you've done this, now you do this, you've completed this skill, now you do this. But because of the way it's set up, there's also a lot of flexibility to go through and do whatever you want, wherever you want, and kind of take whatever classes. But it did seem like, generally speaking, even though there wasn't an assessment, it didn't take a ton of time to just test out of lessons and ultimately like entire kind of subject areas. And then, the entire platform is open to kids, so they can do whatever they want, and that may or may not work for you and your homeschooling, right? You might need to set really clear expectations on what you expect your kiddo to work on that day. Because this is, the other ones you can assign work within the platform, and, it moves through and all of this Whereas with Khan Academy, it really is like, here are all of the things that you can study and learn. What would you like to do now? And, that might work great for some families, but in some families, it's going to be like, no, I need you to not watch another high school physics video. I need you to actually focus on second grade math, so.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, if you have an avid learner or an ADHD kid or whatever, and it's like, oh my goodness, today I learned the entire history of the economics related to the Great Depression. And you're like, did you do the poetry assignments, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And, and we experienced some of that. There was a lot of like, I understand that you thought the physics class was really fun, but I need you to actually do the math and the ELA that's supposed to be at your grade level and give me feedback on that, right? So
and then
I speak from experience.
All the physics you want, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So how about you? Where were you at on it?
So of all the ones we tested, this was Liam's top pick from our initial research. So that was pretty good. I loved that the math was multidisciplinary. I'm all about multidisciplinary learning. I am not about subjects in silos. And so I thought it was really cool. Ironically, it was a complaint on Liam's part, but I liked it, was that he's like, I had to do all this history before I got to math. And I was like, what kind of history? It was all history related to math. It was like flow and stuff like that, right? So I liked the fact that it was there, especially if you do have a mathy kid who maybe isn't a history kid, that it's interwoven into there and you're mixing it together. So I actually quite liked that. He was like, he just loves numbers. So he was like, I just want to solve math problems. Like, just give me math problems. Stop talking to me about old Greek guys. Like he was like the end, Like you mentioned the proficiency challenge. I like that there's a proficiency challenge. So if you go in there and you do a couple of checkpoint questions and you're good, you move on. You don't have to sit through lessons that are not the right level for you. Perfecto, right? Like that's amazing. And then they had some stuff to keep the kids engaged, right? There were badges and energy points and avatars and all that kind of stuff to keep them engaged, which for a free platform I thought was pretty awesome. The reporting isn't as pretty as some of the others. Like IXL had like really pretty colorful reports and I was like, ooh, right? These ones aren't pretty, but they give all the information that you need, right? And so for a free platform, and you have the data you need, the end. But I just really liked the prettiness of the other one. But it wasn't worth me paying for that and having my kid be neutral on something as opposed to, no, of course not. But, so that was good. So a couple things. I wasn't as familiar with Khan as Amanda was, despite the fact that apparently I've had an account for like a decade. So my big question is like, if it's free, who's paying for it, right? And so because like with Mia Academy, it's like we see the influence of the family that owns it hardcore coming into their decision making. So I'm like, well, who owns this thing, right? It's easy. It's all you can Google it. It comes up immediately. There's a website called charitynavigator.org. It comes up as a 4-star charity, which is the top. It's got 100% rating. And there's all sorts of stuff on there. It breaks down their tax form disclosures, their key about accountability metrics, all that kind of stuff. So if you are a person who wants to make an ethical choice and know who the source is for the free thing, then yeah, it's available. It's all out there. There's also a list that you can find online for big ticket donors. So the highest threshold that was on there was a $10 million donation category. When you go to like a theater and it's like $1,000 is like the top and you're like, oh, look how lovely those people get. 10 million was the top tier, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just did a little Googling as far as like who those people, if they were people, because some of them were like, literally one is just like Anne and John Doerr, like they're just this nice couple that gave money. So, others were like Google, Bank of America, Comcast. So you kind of had an idea who they were, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But I just wanted to kind of get an idea of who was there and if any influence was coming through or anything. And it really seemed, pretty squeaky clean. I did notice the Leona Helmsley Charitable Trust was on there. Do you remember her? She was the one, wasn't she that heiress that left all her money to her dog or something? And there was like a whole court case about it. I'm pretty sure that was her. So apparently she left some money to Khan Academy and her dog. I don't know. But I love that that's all there. So quite frankly, we were good. We liked Khan Academy. The only thing that I didn't like about Khan Academy was that I went looking for some sort of contact information, right? Like what if one day my account just isn't working and all my reports are missing or something like that. I found nada. Like there is nothing. The only email address that I was able to find was donations@khanacademy.org or whatever it was. And it was like, okay, I get that that's a priority for you. So everything that any question that you have goes to these help boards on Khan Academy, and you don't know who's answering them. So there were some answers there where people spoke in a way that seemed knowledgeable and authoritative, but I didn't know if they actually worked for Khan Academy or not. And so, I could go on there and sound knowledgeable and authoritative, but just pull the information out of my ear and it's completely wrong. So I was like, who do you go to for help? So that was my one and only qualm about Khan Academy, was just, I am a person who likes a human that I can go to for assistance if I need assistance.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I guess, it doesn't answer the bigger issue, but one thing to keep in mind then, if you're going to use Khan Academy as your primary curriculum, or even if you're using it for electives that you want to make sure you can put on your transcript later, is to probably make sure you're taking those regular reports and save them. Just, save them on a file, on your computer, on your phone. And, it doesn't take that long to save the report. Just save them with the date each time you do. That way, it is a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit that was geared at, providing greater access and leveling the playing field in education. And hopefully they'll be around for a long time, because I think they do good stuff. But there's no guarantee of that. So just making sure that you're saving the information in case they are gone, or something happens when you actually need that information, you'll have it all. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, so that was my only qualm about the whole thing. Otherwise, we had a really positive experience, and you can't beat free. Hello. So, I'm like, of course, the one who certainly isn't paying influencers any money is the free one. And I'm like,
that's the one that both of our kids picked as their favorite, right?
Yeah, I'm like, thanks, kiddos, But hey, it's good news for you. Here's the deal. You can take whatever we would have paid for Time for Learning and come hang out with us on Patreon, right? We have a mom's night out once a month. Bring a margarita and we'll talk,
That's it. You're saving more than 50% from the other ones, and you can still come and hang out with us. You get a free unit guide, mom's happy hour, some one-on-one coaching. Come on. There you go. All right. So Winston's feedback on Khan Academy, he had a hard time figuring out how to get started in the very beginning, right? It was not the first one we did, but also not the last. And he had really appreciated the intro video of hey, this is what you're going to be doing. And again, I think it's just that setting expectations when he's starting a new kind of online platform of some sort. He likes an introductory video that walks him through so that he doesn't spend as much time trying to click around. And Khan Academy, it does not have that, at least not that we saw. So yeah, he said when he started his first class, he was a little confused about what exactly he was supposed to be doing, or what he was supposed to click on, or how it was supposed to work. He did say the videos were pretty good. They weren't wordy and they gave good examples.
I like that neither of our kids like wordy videos. That's so awesome. They both.
Can you just give me the information and move on? Now, I will say that's a great point, right? We have 2E, twice exceptional learners, both of us do. And so if you have a kiddo who is not a gifted kiddo and needs things to go a little bit more slowly, or needs things to be covered a few more times to make sure that they get it, Khan Academy might move a little too fast, right? And you might be more interested in something like Time for Learning. Both of our kiddos felt like it went too slow, but they don't need as much time to pick skills up, generally speaking. So that might be one of those cases where you're looking at something different from what we have. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else did he say? He found the classes to be a bit easy, and the grade level stuff was especially easy. And again, that is just a function of the fact that I told him to go in there and make sure that he was trying stuff that was supposed to be at grade level. So we had an idea, right? So you definitely have to be more active as the parent in helping differentiate the learning and making sure that they're getting stuff that hits that challenge point if you're going to go with a free resource that doesn't have an assessment. The content is fine. It's not count the seconds until you're done, but it's also not super fun either. That was the quote. Oh, kids. I love kids. They're
That's
awesome.
Kind of how I would say Liam felt about IXL. He was just it is what it is, right? It's, mm-hmm. I did it. It wasn't painful. It wasn't amazing. I did it, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's that thing, like I said, he really liked having access to much more challenging things. And so he liked some of the more advanced challenging things. The more grade level things, it was one of those, it wasn't terrible. And if I had to do it, it's fine. But I wasn't like, oh, this is as fun as Beast Academy either, right?
Yeah.
And then the last thing he said is this one has badges, and it was all right. I was kind of stoked when I got my first badge. So, I'm like, so was it all right? Or did you like it? And he was like, yeah. Okay. Super clear. Thanks. But at the end, right, I asked of all the ones that you tested, which one would what was your favorite? Which one would you want to do? And he did pick Khan Academy as well. So.
Yep. My kiddo too. I like it. All right. So Liam's feedback, he liked the fact that you could watch the videos at 1.5x or 2x. He, for somebody who wants content faster, he was happy that it existed. He said the videos did a really good job of explaining things clearly, but to your point, to Winston's point, not to Birdie. He said the math was pretty basic for him, but the language arts felt like an okay level. So, and he doesn't excel at language arts. He just kind of plugs along. It's not his favorite thing. He doesn't put a lot of vim and vigor into language arts. It's just this morning when we were waking up, Winston asked me, so I don't have vim and vigor. I can get one of them. How about you get one of them? Which should it be? That's our morning saying. Like, you ready to start the day with vim and vigor? Today, we didn't. I asked him to not pick vim. I said, can you please pick vigor? I can't really handle the vim today. He was unimpressed. It was definitely more of a vim day. He's like, great. I see. I'm carrying the load here today. So to your point, Amanda, about a kiddo who maybe wants a little bit more repetition or something like that, Liam's feedback was one thing that he wished there were more opportunities to practice skills in certain areas, a little bit more repetition in some cases. And he feels like if there are kids who learn a ton by doing, that they might feel the same way, that they just needed like a little bit more. But this was his overall pick too. So.
I think, I've heard that in other places as well, that one of the struggles with Khan Academy is that it needs a little bit more work and stuff to really flush it out and make sure that kids get skills. And that's something we can talk about in another episode, right? The gifted kiddo really only needs to be presented and practice something 2 or 3 times. And research shows that the average kiddo needs 5 to 7 times of being presented the material and practicing it to really integrate it and remember it and understand it. So, it's free. If you feel like you need more stuff, you can easily find free worksheets, or you can get, something for $4.99 off Teachers Pay Teachers. Like, there are lots of areas where you could go and supplement if you felt there was something specific that they weren't getting enough of. That's really pretty easy to do if you're going to use this as your main spine, but you may need to do that.
Yeah, I thought so too. I liked it. A hit all around.
All right. Perfectly. So, still not fully satisfied with the platforms we tested. Meagan and Liam, threw in a ringer and revisited an old favorite that they had in that, decade ago when she was testing different ones. She was like, I really think, and I was like, I'm not even trying to do another one in my world, but if you have the time to try to test another one, by all means, you go for it. So
we squeaked it in.
Yeah. So tell us, let's hear about, because I won't have much to say. We didn't try it. I put my foot down. Tell us about Funcation Academy.
Okay. So when we got to the point in the assessment process where I was like, I like Khan Academy, but I need service, right? As a human, I just need a person that I can reach out to if the shit hits the fan, right? And I was like, ugh. So years ago, when we were bopping around and like trying platforms and kind of finding our way as new homeschoolers, after the Acellus kerfuffle that I mentioned in 2018, 2019, we switched to Funcation Academy. And I have to say, I made the switch at that time, and the owner of Funcation responded in such a beautiful way. So at that time, there was this mass exodus of people leaving Acellus because of all this Roger Billings baloney. And the owner of Funcation, Amy, was hosting these open house nights, like impromptu, where she would just welcome people on. She would stay on for hours. She would walk people through the platform. She would answer people's questions. And the whole time, she never said a single bad word about Acellus. She knew where all these people were coming from, never said a word. So I was like, that is like top notch in my book, right? So I decided to have Liam try Funcation, but they have 2 different courses and things have changed since we used it years and years ago. And I have to say, when we left Funcation, we left to go full unschool. So it's not like we left Funcation to do something else similar, because if we did, I would have told you about that platform, but we just finally cut the cord to traditional education. So they have different programs of Funcation now. And I just wanted to go on again. I like a human. I wanted to go on and talk to somebody and say, hey, what's the difference between these programs? What do you recommend? Like banter, have a conversation, engage. So they have a virtual campus that you can go visit. So I went on one day, I talked to somebody, they said, oh, you should come back on Thursday because that's a question that's specific to Amy who owns Funcation. You should talk to her. I'm like, okay, no problem. So on Thursday I went on, I had 1 hour before I had a meeting that I had to go to. So I'm like, I have plenty of time. I got there and there were 2 people in line to talk to Amy in front of me and she greeted me, no problem, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, take your time. I'm going to be multitasking. No big deal. So the hour goes by and I didn't get a chance to talk to Amy, which was fine. It's not like I was sitting here staring at the wall. I was getting work done. I was answering emails. So the hour passed by quickly, but then I had to go somewhere else. So I left. Okay. So when I went into the virtual campus, I put my first and last name. My email address is on file with them. My account information is on file. Amy went and found my information and called me later. I was in my meeting, so I couldn't answer, but she called me. I'm so sorry I missed you during virtual campus hours. How can I help? And I'm like, okay, that's the level of service that I like in my life, right? Like,
you know me, I would have been like, whoa, I don't know, man. Yeah.
So I sent her a text. I was like, I'm in a meeting. I'm so sorry. I said, I'll come to virtual campus again tomorrow. It's no problem. Right. And I did, and we connected and all that kind of stuff. Right. But it's a level of service that, forget about in the homeschooling world. It's a level of service that just doesn't even exist in our world for the most part anymore. Right. They have a parent Facebook group that is run by Amy, who owns the company. She's engaged and active over there. She goes live in there all the time to explain changes, share important deadlines, updates, things like that. So, okay. So it runs off the Edgenuity platform. So she's not building her own. She's using an existing service, right, with videos and questions and modules and stuff like that. There's 2 different paths. So for the younger kids, there's what's called My Path, and it's $24.99 a month. Then for high schoolers, so you can stay on My Path for high school, but if your kiddo is college bound, there's another program called Courseware that's $275 for the whole year. And you have to pay for the whole year because of the way the licensing works. She has to buy the license for Courseware. So you're buying it up front and then you're covered. If you use it for the year, if you don't use it for the year, she had to buy it. So you're buying it. Okay. So Courseware for high schoolers is an NCAA approved program. It's college prep rigor. There's AP classes. There's 5 languages in there. There's Latin, Chinese, French, German, and Spanish. And there's also honors classes. So no matter where they start, they take an in-depth assessment and then it'll remove things that they've already done and start them, where they need to go. And then there's still, before each module, there's still a quick check like Khan Academy has, where you do a quick check of skills and it'll bypass something if you need it to bypass something. It's fully customizable. So one of the things, because we never ended up evaluating Mia Academy, the first lesson that Liam would have had for language arts in Mia Academy was the one and only Ivan. And if you've listened before and you understand Liam and his empathy and his animal situation, there is no way on this green earth that kid is going to get through the one and only Ivan. Like, absolutely no way. In Funcation, I can go in, I could remove that lesson entirely, and he'd still be counted as having completed the thing. I can reorder things. So like, if we're going to be on vacation for 2 weeks and I want to front load his semester, I can do that, right? Any of that good kind of stuff. Okay, they have an elective program that has thousands of electives in it. That's $175 for the year. And it covers all the electives, and parents can actually do it too. A lot of these platforms don't allow parents on, and parents can too. So I know in the book club that Amanda and I met through, right, we talked a lot about like connecting with teens and how that becomes harder as your kids become teens. So if your kid's really into this elective on philosophy, it wouldn't hurt to take the philosophy elective along, and have dinner time conversation or take it together or whatever. It might be a good connection point. There's worksheets for every lesson. From 6th grade plus, there's also notes. They host social clubs for art and Legos and all that. It is not like Mia Academy. It is a safe space for anyone of any faith. It does not matter your ethnicity, who you love, etc. You are embraced and welcomed. It is 100%. It's part of the creed. So There we go. They have iCivics, which Amanda, I know you are a fan of. They have Epic Library, 40,000 books your kids have access to. There's test prep for SAT, ACT, GED, and also military exams. So I had Liam test it. It was the last one that we did, and he was burnt out by the end. So I will fully say that. So he liked it. It was his second pick after Khan. Ironically, he did Khan Academy first and this one last. And so he was like fresh as a daisy for Khan. And then for this one, he was just like, So he liked the fact that they have tutoring. So he got stuck on something with language arts, and he was able to go into the virtual campus and sit down one-on-one with a live human for tutoring who could explain it to him, which is great because like if it was math or something, I can't explain that stuff to my kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to have to go learn it to explain it. Somebody else does that. He likes that he could choose his own avatar and make himself look funky. He said the videos were easy to understand. He didn't like that you couldn't speed up the videos. That was a pickle for him. And then there was another situation where he was doing something with math, and it had these numbers at the bottom of the screen. So the whole problem or the math lesson was up top. And then at the bottom, it had these counter numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so in his mind, there were 5 steps to this thing, right? And you just kind of phase yourself. And when he got to number 5, those numbers rolled over and start 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he was like, what the heck? Like he was like, not okay, right? So that was something, right? And this is all psychological, but it's important for our kids, right? When you do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
I know for myself, like every year around the time of my daughter's birthday, I was supposed to be induced on one day and they didn't have any space at the hospital. And so I had to wait till the next day. And every year when that page rolls around in my Facebook memories, I was hostile, right? Because it's like when you know that you have like an end in sight and you've set like, I can survive until Tuesday at 2 p.m., and then Tuesday at 2 p.m. comes and goes, like the rage level goes through the roof, right? And so that was the thing is he's like, okay, I have 5 steps to complete this. And then it wasn't 5 steps. So he was like, bait and switch. But he liked a bunch of the other stuff, and he liked like the Lego and all that kind of stuff. So he was like, okay, my second favorite. So yeah, so that was it. I threw a ringer in. I would highly recommend. It's not a huge company. And I think that's why you get the level of service that you do there, right? Because it doesn't, they're not paying influencers $1 trillion to go out and, recruit a ton of people and stuff like that. It's a small organization. They know the kids, they know the parents. It feels more like a community than it does. You're never going to find that on Time for Learning or something like that.
So I just want to clarify something. If you have so it says it's for 8th grade. So I guess I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
And you might not know these yet.
I was going to say I might not have answers, but yeah.
Yeah, you might not. So does can you say that your kid is in 8th grade?
I would think so.
Because it's that thing, right? Like on paper, like an 11-year-old can't be in 8th grade unless you are homeschooling and you've done mass acceleration. It's really hard to get public schools to accelerate. And so I just wondered, like, for the 8th to 12th grade stuff, is there an age in there as well? Or is it based on?
Not that I've seen, but then if your kiddo's asynchronous, I'm curious if you would have to then pay the 8th grade courseware fee. And then also for like the stuff that they were age appropriate levels of, would you also then, you'd have to pay the MyPath fee for the other one, there is 8th grade stuff in MyPath, right? It goes all the way through 12th grade, but it's not the college rigor level MyPath. So that's the difference. So it's a good question though.
And then that kind of answers my other question. And my other question was going to be, if you pay for the annual courseware license, which is very affordable, actually, at $275 for the year. And then even if you want to add in the elective program, you're still at only $450 for the entire year. That's not bad once you break it down by what it would be per month. But if you pay for those 2 annual licenses, then is there no monthly subscription cost?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, that seems pretty affordable, even if you weren't using just that, if you wanted college rigor level classes, even just for half of your classes for $450 a year. I know I was just looking at some other class options, right? And so like one ELA class is $450, and one history class for a semester, right? The semester class, $600. And,
Well, and you could always do the courseware, the $275 for the year for the college rigor stuff. And then for the stuff that they're working at a 4th grade level, 5th grade level, whatever, Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're not paying for 2 separate things, and you're getting the best of both worlds, because those were literally, like, on our end, they were the top 2 picks. So there you go.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's pretty cool. So it's an option. Check it out if you want to. If you go to the virtual campus, oh my gosh, they will help you. There's a Facebook group for parents. You can go there and ask questions. I mean, I like customer service. It's like a really big thing for me, is to like know that there's humans there that can help me if I get stuck. And so that was my only sticking point with Khan, and that's what made me go rogue and revisit this one that we had used before.
Yeah. And we'll have, if you're listening, we'll have the links to all of these in the show notes, and, you know, maybe somewhere else. We'll have it probably eventually on our blog and stuff like that. But you can just click there. At this point, we're not affiliates for any of them, so we're not going to actually make any money, but just to make sure that you're like getting where you want to be, you know, like we did this to help you, not just to torture our children and buy them things that we were going to end up buying them anyway.
Exactly. And this episode will totally have gotten split in half, by the way. So yeah, just pardon the choppy cuts, because I'm not a master editor. I'm pretty darn good at homeschooling, but editing videos is like if it's my secondary skill, it's like a pretty big gap between the primary and the secondary. So
yeah,
thank you.
Look, we're here to help. We're not here to be polished, which is a good thing, because we're very much not. Yeah. All right. So if you like what you're hearing, please like us, right? Like and follow us wherever you hang out on social media. I know it sounds kind of attention seeking and kind of weird, but really it isn't, right? Like, that's not what we're going for here. In this tech social media world that we live in, so many opportunities, from being able to customize our link so it actually has our name in it instead of a bunch of random letters and numbers, to getting into affiliate programs, right? We were just talking about that. It might be nice for someone else to pay us to do some of this, to even being invited as speakers at conferences and things like that. So much of it relies on these easy to see metrics of likes and follows. So we absolutely appreciate you listening and sharing our posts and all of that kind of stuff. We just really appreciate it if you could take 1 extra second and like and follow our main page. It does help a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. So thank you. Come hang out with us. Plus, it just makes us feel like, oh my gosh, people listen. We get really excited. So, you know, I sent Amanda some screenshots yesterday of like comments and stuff like that. I was, so we get excited. All right. So you want to close us out with our mantra for the day, Amanda?
Yeah, sure. So
sweet.
Today's mantra, we've got: making the right choice for your homeschool doesn't mean it's set in stone. Be confident, but stay flexible. Remember, you're the captain of this ship, and course corrections are part of the journey.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you can try any of the platforms that we talked about, and you're not signing a blood oath life contract. So it's okay. If it doesn't work, it's okay. But at least we hope you can narrow it down a little bit and hopefully get a little closer to the target from some of what we talked about today. So thank you so much for tuning in, and happy homeschooling.
Yeah. Have a great one.